Welcome to the Krista Escamilla Show.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Krista Escamilla Show. Thanks so much for being with us today and sharing your time. I hope that the world is treating you well. I also want to thank our sponsors before we jump into our guest today. Our sponsors are Rig ID Workwear, JoinCapClub.com, and Midland Cap Company. Support those local vendors as you wish. Of course, support local always. So joining us today, speaking of local, we have Stewart Doreen, who is the editor of the Midland Reporter Telegram. Stewart, thanks for being here today.
Well, thanks for having me. This is quite an honor for me, and be able to come on your show, be able to talk with you and talk about Midland.
I'm excited, and I know it's weird being in the opposite chair, right? Because you're used to asking the questions.
Absolutely,
so I understand and I get it, because I remember when you interviewed me a while ago, I was like, "This is so weird being interviewed." But really, we're just chatting. It's not like it's Q&A hardcore. This is, hey, we're going to get to know you, because I know you are the heart of our community, because you get to share the stories of our community. And so I just want to kind of start from the beginning. How did you get started in journalism?
I got started in journalism. I graduated from Texas A&M 1994, and I had been offered a job here as a sports writer. So I come out here in January 1995. January 9, 1995 was my first day at the paper. And from there, it was just working my way through the newsroom, sports, City Hall, sports editor, managing editor, and it was something that's just been quite a ride for me.
That's exciting. I was going to ask you what topics you like, are your favorite to cover. I didn't even, realize that sports was how you got in. So do you have a topic that you enjoy covering more? And is it sports? Is it news?
It at one time lived and breathed everything sports. I mean, it was something that you couldn't get enough of. And the fact is, I was here probably the golden age of sports in Midland with Lee High School at the time winning 3 state championships, Midland High winning a state basketball title. Seemed like everything was just on the up, on the incline, and it was great. And one day it was like, you know what, I want to try something different. And I did some city halls, some state politics reporting, and that became my favorite thing. And then some other things happened, and just like I said, it became a way to work through the newsroom. Now I just kind of like doing a little bit of everything. I don't do any sports writing, but I just love talking to people. And I don't get as much of a chance to do that as I would like, but kind of hearing some good stories and kind of trying to relay a little bit of that to our readers, and relaying a little bit about what Midland was, what Midland is, and what it's going to be. It's an exciting time right now to be in Midland.
It really is. I want to know, when did you know this is what you wanted to do? Like, you were in college. What was it that you went, that's it?
I grew up reading the sports page in Dallas Morning News, which for me was the Bible of sports newspaper journalism. And I knew right then I was going to be in sports journalism some way. Going through, you kind of figure you can do TV or you can do this, and it's just, being a reader was the way to go, was newspaper journalism for me.
You said that, there's been a lot of changes, I'm sure, since you first came here in 95, in just our industry in general. There's phones now. There's social media.
Absolutely.
What have you loved the most about the changes through the years, and what do you wish we could go back to if we could?
I wish we could go back to the idea of running a newsroom with the number of people that we had. We were so much.
I'm with you on that one.
We were so much better. We'll pull the curtain back a little bit. When I came here, we probably had 27 people in the newsroom doing a variety of things. When I go back today, there will be 7.
Wow.
And again, it's one of those things that through technology, through attitude, through any number of things, there have been reasons why people maybe don't invest in as much in a particular product. And you just got to roll with the punches. That's what we've had to learn to do. And I think we still do as good a job as we have in years of telling Midland's story. But for all those times people are like, oh, I wish you did this. It was like, yeah, that was a time when we had 5 people on the sports desk, and now we have 2. That was a time when, and right now you can go and look and see that I don't mean to pick on them, but Midland ISD has a bigger communications department right now than we have a newsroom.
Wow.
And it's one of those things. That's what I don't like about it as much. Mm-hmm. What I like about it is still when you go around town, and I think this probably happens to you a lot, people identify you, and there is that feeling of trust. Mm-hmm. Well, I know if I'm talking to so-and-so, I'm good.
Right.
And that's always something you're never going to be able to replace. You're never going to get a better feeling than somebody that you've helped, somebody that you've been able to pass on information.
Yes.
Because what we do right now is as much about passing on information. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's in brilliant story form, and sometimes it's 2 paragraphs on the internet. Right. And kind of like we just have experienced the idea that like we're getting Bass Pro Shop.
Yes.
And it didn't matter how much was in that story, how much you put in there, people were going to click on it, and you were giving them information they didn't previously know.
Yes.
And that's kind of one of the things when you're a new restaurant, new business, people love that stuff. They can't get enough of it. And that's good. In a way, it's kind of bad because you could do a really great enterprise story, they used to call them, and you won't get nearly as much on something that may be way more important to the average Midlander. So that may be also a thing that kind of miss when people were a little more engaged in your product.
Right. I think a lot of people, they can get their news sources from so many different places, right? And I know that the newspaper is something, I feel like newspaper, local news on television, it's so important to a community. Why do you feel it's so important? Because, there's always talk of local news is going to go away. But I know why I think it's important, but I want to know why you think it's so important.
There's no replacement for it.
Yeah.
There's no replacement. When you're in Midland, there's no replacement for local journalism, right. Whether it's TV, whether it's newspaper. I mean, people can get Washington information any number of places, even some state information. They can go to a different website, Texas Tribune, things like that. But you're never going to get it better than when local journalists tell the story. And again, I think the newspaper does a fine job, but I would also lump the TV journalism into that, because again, there are things that TV journalists do that frankly we can't connect with, like you've been able to do over the years that you've done it, and people that work in your office over at CBS 7. So
well, thank you.
It's just one of those things, whether you're talking about you or Jay. I mean, there's a connection there that quite honestly we can't touch, and it's a trust value that I think has served y'all well, and it's continuing to do so.
Well, thank you. And for you as well, I think when you've stayed in a community as long as we have, you love the people of the community.
Absolutely.
And so how do you choose like what the headline is of the day or what the cover story is of the day? Because I think a lot of people, wonder that, like what, for me, I always think what's going to affect the most people or what's going to bring people joy. Because me, I'm like a joy finder. I want everyone to feel happiness, and I know we have to do both and focus on both. But it's like, what's going to be the headline that is going to make people go, I want to read that. How do you choose that?
That's a good story. A lot of people want to say if it bleeds, it leads. And one of the things we've done recently is, doesn't matter what the crime story is, we're putting that inside. And
which was different 20 years ago.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
Right.
I mean, if it were, I guess, high profile enough, we may do it. But one of the things that, one of the things that really I've started doing more recently is just saying, the front page doesn't necessarily need to be it may be the lead story. We can go online, or I can go on my phone right now and tell you how many people are looking at each story on our website.
Mm-hmm.
But that story that's number one on your website may not be the number one story in your paper in terms of placement. It may not be what we want to do is just put stories out there that we think will somehow engage the reader a little bit. You know, it's usually going to be entirely local. That's something that has been passed down to me from Maida Minton, former editor, that it doesn't matter what happened nationally, you're going to put that local, it's going to be a local front. And that's something we've really tried to stay true to. And the other thing is just, you know, some days we'll have a little more fun with it. It'll be what we call our biz buzz, or what we call small bites, which is usually about the restaurant businesses.
Which I love that addition that you've done. I really do, because people, I mean, I don't know about you, but I love to talk about food, right?
Yeah,
I mean, I love food.
Online, it's extremely popular.
Yes.
But another thing it does, the way that Morgan Taylor is doing those stories now, they're extremely personal about the owners.
Yes.
How they put a lot of sweat equity into certain places. And the Biz Buzz is usually something about a business that you may or may not have known is in Midland, and how they are impacted by things like 2.7% unemployment and other things. So
Yes.
it's a balance. Someday it'll be pretty obvious, but you know, even for us, we get kind of like when you have a government story that's just the same kind of, not bad news, but you can tell that's not going to be a sunshine and balloons type of story. It's kind of like, okay, maybe today we have to put that thing inside to give our readers a little bit of a break from it.
Right. So you're always kind of evolving that front cover, and
Yes,
and
absolutely.
I love that, because to me that's different than old journalism as well. And we're the same in TV news too. I mean, it has evolved through the years for sure. I have so many questions. I'm like, but we have to do what we call quote of the day, because I'm a big quote girl, and I want to have you pick one out and then tell me what that quote means to you.
Okay.
All right. Which card did you
Leader.
get? Oh, you got the leader card, because you are a leader. I love that.
I encourage everyone to choose forgiveness rather than division, teamwork over personal ambition. Lear Francois Cope.
Okay. Very good. What does that quote mean to you?
It means we don't have enough of this right now in our current politics. We don't have enough of this in our local, statewide, nationally. One of the things that is really frustrating about what I experience is we're too quick to divide ourselves into camps. And it's especially frustrating when you see that at the local level. I mean, there are no wins on certain issues today. And, you know, even places you wouldn't think so. Could be some education governance, and it's like, it's all or nothing, one side or another. And it's like, that's not how this works in my mind. It doesn't mean that we have to be wishy-washy or anything like this. But our ability to dig that kind of bunker, get inside there, and you're not getting out until you win 100% is just something that's made usually our country worse, and to me it makes even the community worse when it gets into that level.
How do we change it?
If I knew,
that is the big question.
I don't know. I don't. I mean, I would. If I'm not really sure how you change it, because I'm not sure sometimes our leaders want to change it.
Interesting. Yeah.
I mean,
and I think it's one of those things. And as a journalist, it's not ever our. It's not our job to ever say who's right or wrong, right? It's not. I mean, all we're doing is presenting the information. But I love nothing more than when I see good, positive, two sides working together and coming out with a great outcome that benefits everyone. Because in the long run, we want the best for our community. I mean, that's why we do. I mean, I don't know if that's why you do what you do. I'll ask you that next. But that's one of the things I do, why I do, because I love our community so much. And I want to see everyone win, everyone do their best, everyone flourish and be successful. So why do you do what you want, what you do?
Why do I do it?
Yes.
I really like what I do. Now to
That's
go
important.
back,
That's
go
important.
back to, if I had to start over again, would I do exactly what I would do? Probably not. But at the same time, I really do like what I do. At this point in my life, there's no reason to change. Going back to something you said, a lot of people think that, again, oh, you guys just want to stir the pot. You guys, and I don't think I've really said much about this prior, but one of the things that I know is truly evident is when I'm covering a story that's kind of divisive story long enough, it typically does impact me, like even physically. I know I will, either because I'm spending so much time on the story or because of some other reason, I may even get sick. I had a cardiac episode in 2019. And I'm pretty sure it was not a coincidence. It happened 2 weeks after the bond election ended because of the stress that, was happening there. So
because you care so much about what you're writing.
You do. And because the stress is throughout the community and it's not something that it is because we are passionate about our community and wanting to see good things happen one way or another, but it's also just something that, we do take our job pretty personally, and we probably aren't as, hands off in terms of that topic as some people would like to think that we are, like we're robots, that we can just, here's the news, now we'll move on to the next thing. I mean, we do care about it a little bit, and
we have emotions.
We do.
Yeah, I mean,
we do, and we feel the stress as much as anybody. I mean, I'm sure you've dealt with people who've covered issues in your spot news. People are like, "Oh my God, I can't believe what I just saw." And sometimes you have to take a step back. You have to relax, and you have to remind yourself that, sometimes you have to take care of yourself in this position.
That well said. I think that's great advice for young journalists. I was actually going to ask you next, what tip would you give to someone that is maybe stepping into journalism? Either they're graduating soon, they're in an internship, they're thinking about it. What advice would you give them?
I would tell any person going to college and wanting to get into journalism to major in something other than journalism.
Okay.
I would say if your second favorite activity is financial, maybe major in economics, take certain classes towards journalism, Journalism 101, media law, certain things that will give you a nice base in it, but always have that thing that you can rely on to kind of back you up, maybe give you a specialty where the average journalism major may not have that business background that you would. In this day and age of specialty journalism, whether it's because of podcasts, because of the web, it gives you a weapon that somebody else may not have.
It's good advice.
And if journalism keeps going in the direction where they can find out they can do more with less, it gives you that option of saying, you know what, maybe I need to go into full business mode instead of communications or whatever the case may be.
That is great advice. It is. I love that because, and oftentimes, and now I'm sure you see this as the newsrooms have gotten smaller, and ours, I mean, obviously ours have too in television news. It's good to know what you enjoy writing about or what topics. Like me as a businesswoman, I love business, right? And I love women in business because I'm like, I want to be their biggest cheerleaders because I want everyone to believe in that. So it's good to have that specialty. For some, it's education, finance. And as the newsrooms get smaller, you may have to take on 2 or 3 of those.
You may, but just really, it's just to diversify yourself.
Yes,
it's really to give you options. If I were to tell them, and neither of my girls will end up becoming journalists, but if they did, I would say, you're not majoring in it. I'll tell you where to go. I'll tell you where to get the experience, but you're not majoring in it. You need to major in something else to give you a little diversity, because you're not going to get that other than, you're not going to get that majoring in it at a college.
Well, I'm calling one of my daughters as soon as we get off the phone and telling her that because I always thought, oh, our kids will, none of them will ever go into what
Yes.
Because you think, go do something else, right?
Okay, well.
And so I get that. And then I have one that now is in communications, but I'm going to tell her, you need to study something else too.
Well, I would never tell you how to raise your kiddo, but I'm sure they'll be successful in anything.
Well,
that they
thank you. They, it's fun to see them forge their own, path and their own journey. And I think that as parents, we just want them to be happy and choose something that they love to do, right?
Absolutely. That's the most important thing.
I feel blessed to have done a job for all these years that I love, that I enjoy, and I want that for them. Even if it is broadcast journalism, or if it's print or digital, because digital is so huge now and such a important part of our lives. I have another question before I forget it. I want to know what is the I have two-part question for you,
yes.
Stewart. And once again, I want to just remind everyone, we're sitting here today with the editor of the Midland Reporter-Telegram, Stewart Doreen, having a great conversation. We've only chatted on the phone for like 2 seconds before, and so this has been so much fun to get to talk with a fellow colleague about journalism and where it's at. But this is one that, because you kind of mentioned that the stories get in our soul, they get in our blood, they affect our health. What has been your favorite story that you've covered, and then what has been the hardest story? I know. This is a tough two-parter. We keep the cameras rolling. This could be about 20 minutes, right?
Hardest story
are
always going to be the most divisive ones.
Okay.
Again, I take no enjoyment at all when we're doing stories that are going to bring out a side of Midland that frankly nobody wants to see. Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess we have a certain responsibility sometimes to be there, but there's no enjoyment in it at all. I mean, recently the issues with 2 local private schools in the Midland Police Department, that was not a good story for us. That was not a good story for this community. And, at the end of the day, all you can hope is that, the justice, whatever that is, prevails, and that, if it's meant to go one way or another, that's the way it's going to go. And, but those type of stories, again, most people think, oh, you almost love that. No. That's not good. Yeah. It's not good for Midland.
Yes.
Types of stories that you just enjoy doing usually revolve around the person who's helping you tell that story to people. It's because you're getting to know somebody, or because maybe they're always a good source for you. Maybe it's the way they tell that story that makes it really easy for you to tell the story. Mm-hmm. I wish I had a really good example right now, but I mean, every time I talk to somebody like James Beecham or Brent Hilliard or Jose Cuevas or Ronnie Scott, any number of mentors of mine, you just feel, and other people, you just feel like you're a little bit smarter that day. You've learned something. I take it for granted that, of course, I know everything because I've been in Midland and I'm in this position, but that's not the case at all. And so sometimes it's somebody that you're even meeting for the first time. That's usually the story where it's like, I can't wait to write this thing.
Right.
I'll even give you an example. I am writing this for this Sunday, this weekend edition, about a kid in Sterling City who got second or reserve champion by showing steers down in Houston. Mm-hmm. Now, normally, that wouldn't be my cup of tea, but I had a chance to talk to this kid, his mom, who also showed steers, and all of a sudden you figure out everybody in his family had won every competition known to man, and it's like that's good news. That's a neat story to do, and in this day and age, sometimes you don't get those neat stories as often as you'd like them. So
I agree. Those are the fun ones to tell.
They really are.
Those people stories. And I am with you. I love it when I talk to someone that has been here in West Texas a lot longer than me. I've been here 25 years now. When I talk to any of those like, people that you mentioned earlier, or the Sparks family, or the Beal family,
Absolutely.
or gosh, I could go on and on. There's so many families. Scarborough family.
Yeah.
When I hear their stories, or if I hear Jimmy Patterson tell one of those stories, I just go, oh, we live in a cool place. And those are people stories, because they have those little nuggets that you go, ooh, that was good.
Let me brag on Midland a little bit.
Yeah, please do. Let's brag on Midland.
It is the most. It is a place unlike any other in the state of Texas.
Mm-hmm.
You will not have the number of foundations, Scarborough, Abel Hanger, and numerous, Henry, just, and we can go on. I apologize for blanking there.
No.
I mean, you can just go
good
on
ones.
and on. And we have businesses that really do care, and PSP and things like that. And again, things that happen here don't happen even 18 miles to the west of us. They don't happen in South Texas. They don't happen here. Things that, something may end up being built, and you're thinking, yeah, the only reason that was built is because we're in Midland. You have education choices that are unique to Midland in terms of the number of private schools per capita, and the very good public school system and improving school system, and a school system with a leader that a lot of people are very now excited about.
Yes.
So I mean,
and the Wagner Noel.
And the Wagner Noel. I went to,
what a gem.
Oh, I went to Hairspray recently because my daughter wanted it. I want to go see it. Okay. And
Awesome.
I mean, you're at Wagner Noel, and you know where that crew's going? They're going to spend 2 weeks in San Antonio. That's the type of entertainment now that we're getting that we wouldn't have gotten 10 years ago before the Wagner Noel opened. I mean, it just would not have happened.
Absolutely.
And more because of people like Tom Craddock, we've gotten things that we otherwise wouldn't have gotten. So, and the list is just too long to go through, but it's just so many reasons. Like you said, Jimmy Patterson could probably rattle off about 10 reasons why Midland is unique. So
he wrote, was it Sticky Doorknobs? Was that the name of his?
I believe
he was with the Midland Reporter Telegram for, I don't even know how many years it was now looking back, but I always looked forward to hearing what he had to say.
He did.
He just had a great
And
writing style. He had a great writing style.
He had a great writing style, but having that conversation with him, we shared an office for a little bit, an actual office room, and you know, just hearing him talk and really getting to know his personality, sometimes that didn't even come through in his writing as much. So I know when y'all have had conversations, maybe that's something that you've noticed as well, that it's just, you know, he's such a good guy and such a real person that, I can see how people would certainly be engaged to him.
Yeah, we have lots of good people in West Texas. I love that you bragged on Midland, so thank you for doing that. We do something called Question of the Day.
Oh, cool.
It is just a random question. I think that one we have already used. Let me mix these up a little bit. Go ahead and pick one out, read it, and answer the question.
Active. What is your superpower or spirit animal?
What is your superpower, Stewart Doreen?
I would enjoy, just for a little while or two, hearing what other people think my superpower is. And then I think I would get really tired of that because I'm not sure I would like the answer. Oh, gosh. You know what?
This is fun. This is a tough question. You're not alone in being stumped on this question. This is a tough one.
For me to answer because, frankly, I'm just who I am at the end of the day. I'm a father to 2 teenage girls who are the love of my life. I'm a dog owner. I'm just a guy who's been in Midland for 27 years. I'm a flawed person and somebody who, though, tries to do it again every day. If I had a superpower, it's probably all the things I think I know, but then that superpower goes away every time I then figure out how little I know.
That's a good answer.
And about Midland, that's something where, I I know everybody. And then you walk into a room of, could be at the Petroleum Club, and it could be at MCT or any other number of places. And then you find out how few people you actually know.
Right.
And that's another thing that's just so special about Midland. It doesn't revolve around one or two people. It's legions of people, and it's been that way for many years.
I will add a superpower in there. You are able to put out a wonderful newspaper every single day. If anyone knows how hard that is, it's so hard to come up with that much content. But to do it in a newsroom, which is a third of the size of when you began, and writing, because you're a great writer, and so those are, to me, those are some superpowers that stand out too.
The same goes with you. I think when I first came here, I don't remember there being a 4:00 newscast, and y'all coming up with local content basically from 4 to 6:30, and then, of course the 10, and then there's the morning and noon, and I mean,
it used to be. I mean, originally there was like two newscasts a day, and then it grows to 3, and then now it's almost a 24-hour cycle with digital.
Yeah.
It has changed a lot, just like your industry. It has changed so much.
It has changed,
Yes.
and not necessarily for the better, because we do, admittedly, oh, they got that before us, those guys at 7. and again, it's healthy if you treat it a certain way, and you're still good with your journalism. You're still making sure you got something sourced well. But having said it, it can lead to some competition that isn't necessarily as healthy if you're not careful about it. But we try to make sure with our people, just do the best you can on certain things.
And it should be community over competition. That's how I look at it. I've never looked at any of the stations. Thank you, sweetie. I borrowed it from someone. I think it was probably you.
Well, that's a heck of a way to put it.
I think community over competition. I've never looked. Right now I'm at Channel 9, but I was at Channel 7 for years, and Channel 2 is who brought me here, 25 years ago. And so I love all the stations. I love the news, both newspapers, Midland, Odessa. I've never felt it was competition. Now, general managers may think otherwise, right? Because there's ratings and things like that. But for me, it's not about competition. There's enough room for everybody, and we all have the same goal. We all want to provide the most accurate information that's going to help people plan their day or affects their day, or because we really are that source of information when people don't know what's happening because they're in their home. They don't know that there is a 5-car accident that has both lanes closed down, and we can be that source of, hey, this is going to help you. So for me, I'm not as, just as a journalist, I'm not as much of like, oh, got to get this story before anybody else. I look at it as like, hey, let's get this to as many people as we can if possible.
Absolutely.
The most, and accuracy. And to me, that is a responsibility that I don't take lightly. That I'm like, okay, that is the importance of what we do. Is connecting the community.
And yesterday I was at a meeting, and it was somebody else, Rachel from Channel 9. She's the only one there. It's like, cool for them. They're actually...
She's a great young journalist. I really
Rachel
enjoy it.
Robinson,
Yes, she's
really
doing a good job.
And I mean, again, it's just one of those things that we can get so riled up into that sort of thing, but it doesn't help the reader anymore, and it doesn't help the average Midlander anymore.
Right.
So,
what do you think makes a good journalist?
No, somebody this day and age with the phones and everything else, I don't think there's any replacement for somebody who likes to talk to people.
I agree.
I think that that's really tough for me, because I'm not the guy who loves to go into a room and meet everybody in the room. I'm usually pretty focused. I know I've talked to that guy.
Who you need to get your interview with.
Yeah, but having said it, the best thing that you can do is just somebody who's wanting to talk to as many people as possible.
Yeah.
You get to know the room, you get to know the subject better, you get to know everything a little bit better, or you may find out something that leads to your next story.
That's which often happens if you're a talker and a people person, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I just thought of a fun question. What is your dream interview? If there was one story or interview that you could have, who would that be? Like bucket list.
Oh my gosh. Boy, you have some really good questions. Dream interview?
Mm-hmm.
Let me think about that
Okay.
a little bit, and I'll get to it. I
Absolutely.
promise.
We'll come back to that. I do want to ask you about mentors because you mentioned earlier about mentors, and I think mentorship is so important. What advice would you give to someone that's seeking? Because we get a lot of people that come into town, right? That are new, that are gung ho on the oil and gas industry. They've just moved here to West Texas, and we have so many people here that can be a plethora of information and be great mentors. What would you say to someone that is young coming into Midland? Because some people, I've heard, well, I don't know how to get to that person. I don't know how do I get them to mentor me? How would you suggest that cultivating that mentorship relationship?
Being open-minded to and talking with people who may not always agree with you. Some of my real mentors, in terms of being a good community person, are not always the ones who say, "I love that article you did. Your column was spot on." They're going to be the ones that sometimes say, "Hey, did you think about this?" And it'll get me to think, "Yeah, that was something that I could have done better." And again, people who have a track record of doing it well.
Yeah.
If they don't have a track record, I would maybe not rely on them as much as I would other people who've been there, they've done that, and it's usually at the end of the day not about them. It's about they've put Midland first as well. In the business, some of my mentors have just, I've hopefully taken a little bit of good from people like Terry Williamson, Ted Battles, Maida Minton, maybe even Gary Ott, a few others and one of my favorites, Mary Darren.
Oh, yes.
I mean, just when you take a little bit of everybody to make you a better person. You don't try to be somebody. You just try to take those elements that you say, that can make me a better journalist. So.
Oh, I love that. And I think, and maybe this is because I'm a journalist, but I love listening, because we cover a lot of different events where someone's speaking, a keynote speaker, or just you're interviewing somebody and you're there and you're in the room. I love learning something from each of those situations. I don't care if it's just one little nugget that I've learned that day. I just think, gosh, this is why I love my job. I just think, and I think we can learn so much from the people of West Texas. So go out and find a mentor. If you're thinking about it, just give them a call. What's the worst I always think, what's the worst they can say is no. But I don't know if that's our generation. We pick up the phone and call people, right?
Right. Now they shoot them a text, I guess. But I mean, it's makes so much sense these days.
It does.
Just to, get out of the silo that you're in just for a little bit to experience something different. Doesn't mean you have to become baptized in whatever that other experience is, but it makes you usually a little bit more even what I tell people when they're reading a column. You weren't supposed to necessarily agree with what it is that I say. It's just supposed to make you think in general. And if you think, that's actually a positive. Because, going back to what we once talked about, everybody, they don't think anymore. They just kind of, this is how I am and you're not going to change me. Okay, well, that's not what I was trying to do in the first place. So,
Gotcha.
yeah.
So before we jump into a little game I call Favorite Things, I just say random things and you tell me your favorite things.
Yeah.
I want to know, what do you hope your legacy is at the Midland Reporter-Telegram?
Oh my gosh. Legacy at the Reporter-Telegram. Just that people think I worked hard, that I did everything I could to give them a product that they could be pleased with, that allowed them to know Midland a little bit better.
I love that. What would you do to encourage people to read the paper more?
Sadly, I can't do anything. You're either going to be engaged in your community, whether you watch TV journalism or read the newspaper in Midland, or you're not. It all depends on you. If you want to depend on social media just to give you bits and pieces that aren't necessarily even the real story, that's up to you. If you want to shut media out because the media is too left or too right, it's up to you. But you're missing what is a great community, and you're missing what is valuable information to make you more aware of government, make you more aware of what others are doing, to make you more aware of what cool stuff some of your fellow Midlanders are accomplishing. So,
well, I think that you and your team do a great job, and we appreciate what you do. I know it's hard work. I know it's 24/7. You're never turning it off in your brain.
no,
I understand that, and I know it can be a thankless job. So, I just want to say thank you for connecting our community, because I feel newspapers and local TV news and there's also some entrepreneurs that go out and bring local news on there. It's important. It's important to get a wide variety and to know what is happening in your community.
Absolutely, it is.
Thank you for doing that.
Thank you for what you do, and eventually I'll think of that person. But I'm not sure I'm not sure. And one thing I'm not sure I would want to have an interview, because again, some of those dream interviews, they'd be so scripted at this point. They wouldn't get whenever you find yourself talking to somebody, they don't want to have a conversation with you. They want to just get out of there doing as little damage or staying on script as much as they usually do. I'd want to have a good discussion and find out just off the record. Those are the types of discussions I enjoy the most with somebody like a Tom Craddock. He has stories that, quite frankly, would just blow your mind about how he got something in a bill.
Yeah.
And it's like, really? Oh my gosh. And but I mean, or just about how he related to somebody in the Texas House. Those are the stories that you hold on to and probably could never tell in the paper. But
so you like the off camera or off recording those conversations, because you're getting to the heart of it.
Usually much better.
Yeah. Okay.
That's my experience. Or a lunch with somebody where you can kind of figure out, oh, this is what you're about, and I like it.
That's awesome.
And
I love that.
One thing before we get to it, the one thing that I would say that, again, before somebody else outside ever kind of, the media, whatever, don't hesitate if you ever have a problem with something that you read. Come on by and see us. Mm-hmm. Come on by and take an opportunity, take 5 minutes with me. At the end of that 5 minutes, if you think we're still the worst thing in the world for whatever, that's fine. But chances are, face to face, what you say in a social media comment, you would never say to me face to face. And if you do, I may be able to say, well, this is why I would disagree respectfully, or I'm not looking to change somebody's mind. But we get so quick in today's day and age just to, this is how it's going to be. He's got to be part of that evil conspiracy, either one side or the other. It's usually
right. It's like, just come talk to us, and let's have a conversation about it. Yeah, I love that, because I think an open door policy. I could not agree more. What you say on social media in a quick little brrr is not what you're going to say in person. I mean, I guarantee it. It's just not. And my husband calls them keyboard warriors.
Yes,
he said you have these keyboard warriors that they'll get behind there. But would they say that if they walked into your business, or if they walked into, or saw you out to eat at dinner? No, they're not going to say that. So let's have good face-to-face conversations, or pick up the phone and call and talk about it. I love that. Okay, favorite things. You ready?
Okay, ready.
Favorite movie?
Moneyball or Social Network.
Oh, those are two good ones. Those are really good. I could watch Moneyball a lot.
Your favorite movie?
My favorite? I have so many. I mean, but if I had to pick one right now, I love Forrest Gump. I love the, hey, you can do anything, try anything, and you never know how one experience is going to lead you to the next, and how everything happens for a reason. And I think Forrest's life, and nothing's going to stop you. And I love the perseverance of the story. So I'd pick that and about 10 others.
Okay. Yeah.
Favorite podcast?
I don't have one.
Well, now you do. It's the Krista Escamilla Show.
Absolutely.
Just kidding.
But no, I because it's local.
Yeah.
And I can see myself. This is the type of podcast, having been on it, not because it's me, but having been on it, where you can start it, go for a walk, and by the time you're done with your walk, you've learned something a lot more fascinating about somebody.
Exactly.
And the people you talk to, I'm sure would have those types of stories that you wouldn't be like, oh, what else is on? So.
And that's what I love about podcasts. We really get to hear everyone's story and learn more about them, because you and I both know when we're out in the community, you see someone 5 minutes, you're interviewing them, you got to get to the next. You're really not getting to connect.
No.
And I think our world needs more connection, and that's what I love about podcasts.
Absolutely.
Is that good, connection. Favorite book? I can't wait to hear this one.
Oh, favorite book. I enjoyed, boy, I'm really so unprepared for this
No, you're
interview.
not. There is no preparing for this
really
interview.
enjoyed.
You're doing awesome.
I really enjoyed reading. There are a couple sports books, probably going back to my sports days, from a guy who's an author whose name escapes me, but he did 12 Mighty Orphans, and he also did Junction Boys. And those were uniquely Texan, and for me, those were the types of books where you can't put it down, you can't stop it, and those will probably be, top two. So.
Okay. Since you mentioned sports, what's your favorite sport to watch, and what's your favorite sports team?
College football. Sadly, I'm a Texas A&M fan, so we're not going to win that off.
That's not sadly. You have a lot of fellow Texas A&M fans
No,
watching.
I know, but it's, and I really do think next year they're going to be really good, because they bring a lot of starters coming back, and they found their quarterback. But they're also playing Alabama and LSU every year.
Yeah.
So
True.
Jim Dent is the author of 12 Mighty Orphans.
Oh,
Jim
Dent.
Dent. Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you.
And so I like watching golf and college football on TV.
Me too, on the golf.
Yeah,
Yes.
Ryder Cup is must-see TV for me.
Isn't it? It's
It
great.
is. And
The majors.
Usually Masters.
Yeah.
I've been to Augusta, and I mean,
I'm jealous. So's Al. We are so jealous right now.
practice round when I went to school in South Carolina, and just the TV does not do it justice.
Really.
Yeah, how the hills, the color, everything.
You're excited what?
He loves golf.
I know. I didn't know that. See, you learn something new every day about someone. I did not know you're a golf fan. I love that.
That's probably the first time, other than seeing you on the TV, that was one of the first times I started to get to know the Escamilla family, because
Your
how
golf.
good the golf is.
Well, thank you. We love golf. For those of you who, and I do mention it time to time, but and whenever our kids have been in the seat, which is fun to interview your kids. I highly suggest you interview your kids sometime.
Oh, they would hate me.
No, they wouldn't hate you. You know what? It would be more fun than you think. Maybe wait till they're a little older. I waited till mine were at least, at an age where they were like, okay, I can do this. So yeah, maybe when they're in their 20s or something.
Yes.
But so I have, oh God, I had another question and I just lost it. We were talking sports teams, golf. Oh, I want to know a fun fact that we would not find on your bio.
Gosh.
Stuart's like, these are questions I have not thought about.
No, and these are questions that I wouldn't. Fun fact that you wouldn't.
I love fun facts.
Oh my gosh. Well, one is obviously that I don't like to talk about myself.
Which I appreciate you doing today, because it has been so wonderful to get to know you.
Fun fact. If you don't mind, let's go to the next.
You got it.
I don't.
This one I know you'll know.
Okay.
So at the end of our show, we always do something. We want to give back. We want to share, pay it forward, share the kindness.
Mm-hmm.
So we talk about a nonprofit in our community, and then we make a donation on behalf of our show for it. So is there a nonprofit that you want to shout out that you either you sit on a board or you feel strongly, or that you just want to give them a little kudos?
I apologize to the boards, to the nonprofits where I may sit on the board or I am connected, but the Midland Rape Crisis Children's Advocacy Center.
Okay.
I think at this time, what
Yes.
they do is certainly invaluable to so many Midlanders.
I couldn't agree more. I love that. Thank you. And that's where we will definitely send our donation. See, I knew
Thank
you'd
so
know the
much.
answer to that one.
I did know the answer to that one.
If you want to come back to any of those others, you just let me know. We're almost done. We're
I
coming
do.
to the end, but in case
Okay.
one of those pops in and you're like,
Will
oh,
do.
I know. I want to add, because I know you mentioned that your daughters are the loves of your life. I know my husband and my kids, I feel the exact same way about. What parenting advice would you give to someone that you've learned from parenting your own children?
I'd never believe this when other people would say it. I thought those people are just full of it when they would say, it goes by.
Yes.
I honestly don't remember the last decade. I don't remember the 2000 teens. I mean, I remember instances, but I look back on it and my kids one's about to be in high school, one's about to be a senior. And it's like, wait a minute, what happened in the last decade? Because it really does go by quickly. And, do whatever you can, especially once you have multiple, it seems to even speed it up.
It does.
That much more. And, that's one thing, whether it's a carpe diem sort of thing, seize the day, or whether it's just enjoy the moment. That's what I would do, because you think that there are going to be so many more of these days and blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden you wake up and it's like, wait a minute, one's about to be a senior? This can't be happening. So that's the one thing that really always kind of, I come to think about quite often.
I could not agree more. I mean, and I remember people would tell me all the time, it goes by so fast, enjoy it. And now I'm the person telling others that too, when I see little ones running around and I'm like, oh, I miss that. And they look at me like they're so frazzled. Their hair's sticking out to here and they look like they haven't slept in a week or two because they have newborns, And I'm just like, I know it sounds crazy, but it goes by fast and you just want to enjoy every moment.
It does. And that thing that they're doing now, I swear you're going to miss it. That thing that, is cute, but you maybe, that's the thing you're going to be wishing 5 years later. Why can't you do that again?
Right.
I would never do that. Yeah, you did.
That is so true.
Yeah.
Well, and I used to write down the cute little things they say, because you don't remember. And they say the funniest things.
Absolutely.
When they're like 18 months old to 2.5, 3 years or beyond. They still say funny things. But but that time, I remember someone had told me, because I always like to try to get those nuggets from other parents, right, that would give me the advice. They'd say, write it down. So I was so good on child 1 and 2. Sorry, childs 3 and 4. I did not do it as much, but I wish, oh my goodness, I wish I would have wrote more of those cute little things down, because you forget the funny things that they do at that age. Because like you said, the time goes by so fast.
It goes by so fast. Were you one of those, like with 3 and 4? I'll selfishly say that, for one, every little thing, you're delicate. You have to make sure everything. When 2 came along, it's like, oh, you're playing with near the socket. No problem.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, the pacifier just fell in dirt. That's okay. Let me just wipe it off. Exactly. Here you go. So, we have many stories like that. And we always say, with the first child, we had the whole diaper bag. I mean, we had it. It was stocked and loaded. 4th child, we're running out the door. Does anyone have a diaper? Okay, good.
Okay, we're solid.
Yes, definitely. But I just want to thank you again. This has been such a great time getting to know you more, just seeing a little bit about where your heart is with our community, because I feel like it's one of those things where we just haven't gotten to, we read your words in the paper, which are so great, but to get to hear you say them has just been such a pleasure. So thank you for your time today and sharing.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for spending some time with me as well. It's something that again, we don't, maybe because of mediums or whatever, we don't get to see each other face to face as much as we should.
Right. And in closing, I always ask our guests, is there anything that coming into today, you're like, oh, I hope they learned that about me, or I hope they talked about it, and maybe I didn't ask you that question, or
I just hope people don't, if you had an assumption about me, maybe this changed it, or I just hope that, maybe I'm more approachable than I was before.
Or come knock on his door. He said he'll take you. Come on in.
Come on in.
He's open to chat.
Give me a call and we'll set up a time, or, just come on by and let's see what we can make happen.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Stewart Doreen with the Midland Reporter-Telegram, editor. If you would like to reach out to him, I'm sure you can find him on social media or on in the paper. They always have a contact us.
Or, call me 432-352-0605. It's my personal cell. All my business calls go to my cell anyway.
So might as well.
Might as well, yeah.
Well, thank you, Stewart. I really appreciate the time. It's been a pleasure. And we appreciate all of you spending this time listening. Thanks again to our sponsors, Rig ID Workwear, joincapclub.com, and Midland Cap Company. I appreciate you allowing us to really encourage and inspire and learn together and really showcase how great West Texas is and, of course, the people in West Texas. So thank you again. And don't forget my mottos. You know what they are. Say it with me. Yep, there it is. Dream big, believe, and never give up. You make it a great day.